makes up the mountains shine. Arrows of hope, relentless we go. Arrows of hope, relentless we go. Doing our bits for the wounded to heal. Changing realities with the swagger of feel. Bring it on, naya naya rasta hamara. Bring it on, hum hai aa rahe oh yara. Tani kadim, dim tani kadim, dim. Bring it on, yara, oh yeah, bring it on. Tani kadim, forever and a day, we are not just gonna pray. You can shake us, break us, cut us, tear us. We are here to say, yeah, we grow like a tree, we evolve and we'll be free. We believe in our passion that make future every beat. Like a phoenix we reborn. Is this your best? Come on, bring it on. Yeah, IRMUN, bring it on. Be the flame, don't let the darkness strive with the force. They can deceive and divide with the love. Withstand the test of time with the truth. One and the only way of life. Hey, bring it on, naya naya rasta hamara. Bring it on, naya naya rasta hamara. Bring it on, hum hai aa rahe oh yara. Bring it on, hum hai aa rahe oh yara. Bring it on, waqt hai hamara, jahan hai sara. Bring it on, naya naya rasta hamara. Bring it on, hum hai IRMUN oh yara.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another session of Evolution Next. And I think I have all my guest speakers over here. I have Miss Akshita Samant and Major Muhammad Ali Shah present right here with me. Let me just quickly, take them to the spotlight and let them steal it away from me. And on that note, let me just add, yes, sir. Lovely. And all I need to do is now get added to the spotlight myself. All right. Yes. Welcome to the platform. Are you both able to unmute yourself? No? I will just.
Hello. Hi. Good evening. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Ms. Akshita, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes. Am I audible?
Lovely.
Yes. Hi, Akshita. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Very well. Very well.
Firstly, thanks a lot to both of you taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us.
Well, thanks for inviting me over.
Lovely. So I'll quickly introduce both of you, and then I would love to interact a lot about specific topics that I think you guys have so much knowledge about, and you can share with us youngsters when we can gain some insight upon those. So without any further ado, we have Miss Akshita Samant over here. She works with the Pocket Aces, which is popularly known for.
Akshita needs no introduction. I'm well aware about Akshita Samant. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, no, it's just for the kids. I am pretty sure. I mean, for your knowledge, you have known so many people that I myself, at times feel that I should just sit with you and take a pen and paper and understand. So please. But on that, just let me quickly introduce. Ms. Akshita Samant is working with Pocket Aces. She's the showrunner for Dice Media, a very, very popular channel. And also she has worked on multiple projects like advertisements, marketing companies. And today she's going to share something very, very insightful with us. How to pitch yourself, how to find and pitch your work to relevant sponsors, to venture capitalists, to people who are related to your path. On the other hand, we have Major Muhammad Ali Shah, sir, a true patriot in all ways, an actor, a patriot, and someone who I really, really look up to. And it gives me immense pleasure to also announce that he has recently joined us for our Youth Ministry Advisors. He's officially IRMUN. So a very, very warm welcome to both of you. And it gives me immense pleasure. And it's a matter of pride for me to have you here on the same panel. So without any further ado, I will let Ms. Akshita take over for the first half. If you would, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. It's an honor to be interacting with all of you today. As a leading digital entertainment company, we at Pocket Aces regularly interact with content creators, writers, and directors for shows and projects. The media industry itself is so fast-paced and competitive that they often have to make a very strong first impression within minutes to leave a mark. And the same applies to us as producers of content, with the leading streaming platforms taking over the market, say from your Netflix to your Amazon Prime, Hotstar. They have hundreds of shows and films that are pitched to them daily. So how does one stand out? How does one leave a mark of themselves on these executives with the precious time they have given us when they are spoiled for choice? I think the basic principles of this apply to all of you as well. When you're, say, interviewing for a course at a prestigious university or for, say, your dream internship or job. So I would like to take this time that has been given to me to talk about these principles today. Everyone with me so far?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great. So I would like to talk about 6 principles today. The first is about the things that happen subconsciously. So humans are subconsciously drawn towards stories rather than achievements. Now, it's great to have, say, a great strong resume, to have good grades and all the extracurriculars that you guys do mentioned in your CV. But what makes you really unique to an employer or any stakeholder for that matter is your story. So take the time to give the interviewer a sneak peek into who you really are, why this course or this job really matters to your journey. Because after taking hundreds of interviews of candidates, they will probably not remember what your exact CGPA was, or what that extracurricular activity you had mentioned at the top of their mind. But they will remember a joke that you cracked during the interview, or a unique insight or an anecdote that you shared, or how passionately you spoke about an issue. And this will help you stand out from the crowd. The next principle that I would like to talk about is about doing your research. So whenever you have, an interview or a meeting with someone important, it is important to do your background homework about the person you're going to talk to and the organization that they represent, whether it's a university or a college or an organization you want to work for or be associated with. So I'll give an example that we have something we face regularly with writers who pitch concepts to us. So the writers often come to us and simply talk about the stories they want to tell. Now, it is understandable that any creator is very passionate about the work that they do, but it is also important to assess what does this mean for the person you're pitching it to. So now these are all great stories, but they don't necessarily think about, is this a good fit for the platform and the audience that I'm pitching this to? So how will this producer, for example, stand to benefit from telling this specific story out of the tens and hundreds of stories being pitched to them? It is important not to just focus on I, me, myself when interacting with others. People appreciate empathy and the time the time one takes to think about their needs. So, for example, if it's a university that you're applying to, do they have, say, a history of winning at intercollegiate volleyball tournaments that you could be a great value addition for? If it's an entertainment company like Pocket Aces where you're applying, do you have a script idea that would instantly be a good fit for a relatable slice of life content that the young adult audience of Pocket Aces loves watching? So convince the person sitting in front of you that what you can do for them is great for them rather than what it is for you. So, it's more like think what you can do for the company rather than what the company or the institute can do for them. Because once they feel like you really care about their interests as well, your battle is half won, is what I feel. The third point I would like to speak about is really listen. And this seems like a very obvious thing, but you will be surprised at how often people forget to do this. So listen to what your stakeholder is saying and adapt your pitch accordingly. Now, most of the candidates often have it pre-decided in their mind that what they are going to talk about. They want to cover these specific 5-10 points in this interview, and no matter what questions are asked to them, they end up talking about those points only in their answers. Now, it is very important to listen, and I mean actually listen to what the other person is saying. Consider how you can modify your responses based on that. Now, I'll give an example of a pitch meeting. So there are times where we have entered a show's pitch or a film's pitch to a platform which where the story is based in, say, a metro city like Mumbai or Delhi. Now, while interacting with the studio executive, you might realize that they are more likely to greenlight a show which is based in a smaller town, say like Banaras or a Lucknow, because that is what their market research tells them, that is where most of your audience is, or that is what their content slate is missing right now. Now, it is important to quickly assess during your pitch that is the backdrop of your show essential to the actual story you want to tell. If the city itself now plays a very important role in the narrative, then it's fine. Like, say, for example, it's a Scam 1992. It has to be in Bombay, right? Or if it's Sacred Games, it has to be in Bombay. But let's say it's a high school romance. Now, the theme of a high school romance is going to be pretty consistent whether you are in a big city or a suburban town, because the feelings that a teenager goes through would be on the same line. So it is important to assess that if I decide to move the story from, say, a Bombay to a smaller town in this pitch, does it increase my chances of conversion? And to adapt quickly. So that agility and having that presence of mind is very important. Now, each of you will have to assess how you apply this anecdote to the specific situation where you are pitching either yourself or your idea or your work to someone, because this having this adaptability can go a long way in getting things converted, and it can take you places. The next, yes.
I'll just interrupt. So yeah. I am myself actually a BBA marketing student, and whatever you're saying is completely, comes to me from, it just appears to me as if, my book has somewhat just taken shape of pitch and now is being, delivered to me. So the entire thing that you mentioned, I got onto the point called relativity, the relatability of the content that you're producing. So how much value does that hold? Because we are obviously looking at a target audience.
Right.
But what about the audience which is also going to watch it, but might not be? Because see, obviously once the content is out there, it will be watched by everyone and anyone. So how do you tackle it being watched by people who are not your target audience, who, let's say, might not like it, might find it offensive? How do you tackle that?
See, when you start writing something, right, or start developing something, you have to be very clear who your target audience is, and be very clear that what I'm developing is for them. Now, anyone who decides to hop on this wagon is a bonus. And, people have become extremely sensitive, and unfortunately, the tolerance level to, being open to ideas which you may not agree with, unfortunately, in the current times has become a little tricky. So it's very important. And so what we do when we are developing a show, right? Like, one might think that everything that, say, goes on a DICE channel is for the same target audience, which is not the case. So, say, for example, the target audience of an adulting, which is a story of two girls in their mid-20s living together in Bombay, is slightly different from the target audience of What the Folks, which is a family drama based about the daily, trials and tribulations that go in a family's life. Now, it is important to understand, because then your content will evolve accordingly. Now, say, for example, I'll give you a very simple example that what we learned from the season 1 of adulting is that while we as creators don't really mind actors swearing once in a while in the middle of the script, or improvising and, say, smoking in a scene, like, because we think it's individual choice, right? But we did realize that because some of our audiences weren't too happy about it, it led to drop off rates or something. So it's important so based on that, if you see the following season, like, you can't take a character trait away from a character, but you'll not see the character smoking anymore. Or like in the beginning, we had a lot more English content in the dialogues, but we realized that the engagement goes up when you have a good mix of Hindi and English. So it's very important to understand your target audience, and it's also important to accept that no matter how beautiful your content is, whether it's a book, whether it's a film, whether it's a poem, there are going to be people who are going to love it. There are going to be people who are going to hate it.
I mean, you were just mentioning about the scripts, and we have Major Sir over here, and he has been interacting and doing films from, let's say, Bajrangi Bhaijaan to Agent Vinod, and Sir has seen so many scripts. I was just going through his YouTube channel. He was recommending me. So what do you say about relativity? About, as Akshata mentioned, that you bring it down from a metro city to somewhere called Banaras, and it changes a lot more audience. So how do you react to that? How do you feel about it?
Just say your question again. I removed my earphones. I
sorry.
Of the poor audio at my end, perhaps.
Yeah. So I was just saying that, Akshata was telling us about how your target audience from place to place differs, but it also increases. Let's just say, if we take a storyline from a metro city like Bombay to a slow city like Banaras, so it changes. And considering your experience with, films and scripts that you've come across, what do you say about it, about the target audience that you feel?
Certainly, the basic thing is you should know your audience really well. For example, I'll give you an example. Supposing I'm going to Lucknow to perform a play and I'm performing Mirza Ghalib, it will work with them. But if I go and do, say, supposing Mirza Ghalib somewhere where people do not understand Urdu, Mirza Ghalib may not work with them. Such a brilliant play, such a brilliant piece of art. Now, if I go to a small village and if I perform an English play, if I perform Samuel Beckett's play or probably Oscar Wilde's play, they will understand in the village. In Rome, do as the Romans do. Jaisa desh, vaisa vesh. So you got to feel the pulse. You got to catch the pulse. And you got to connect with the people. That's about it. It can, the same thing. When I was in IIM Calcutta, we were learning about marketing. Now in the IIMs, there is no difference between a person who's done MBA from another institute and a person who's done from IIMs. Let me make that one thing very clear. The same thing that we teach, it's just the perception. It's the stamp that matters, that has the value. Oh, so and so is an IIM product. Must be very intelligent. But living example before you, I'm not intelligent, right? Anyhow, having said that, so you got to even know the market product. Like I'll tell you, there was an experiment conducted in Africa, in a tribal village over there, where people do not wear slippers. They used to walk barefooted. So this footwear company said, let us give them footwear. Let us make them get used to wearing footwear. And then we'll sell our products in this market. But it didn't really work there. They gave them free footwear to wear for a few days, few weeks, few months. It didn't really work because they were not adapted to wearing footwear at all. I'll give you another small example. Like, as Akshata said one thing, I totally agree with her. I'm on the same page with her, but I'll tell you one small thing. We all will agree that, advertising improves productivity of anything. If you advertise, people will go and buy it, right? Here, the more they advertise for this product, the sales were dropping. Yes, the more you would advertise, the sales would drop. How is that so? What happened? I will tell you. I'm talking about an energy drink. They advertised for an energy drink and the sales dropped. They advertised for a washing machine and the sales dropped. Why? Because they could not understand their customers. They couldn't connect. I'll tell you how. Energy drink, okay? The ad was very simple. A dull man, sleepy, tired. First picture showed a dull man. The three pictures. Second picture showed this man drinking this energy drink. And you're just drinking the drink. And third photo showed him going for a sprint or dancing or going for a run. Full of energy. Now you and I would want to buy that. Wow, which is this product? You want to buy it. Right? Am I right? you would want to feel energy. Well, to share a small secret with you, come close, all of you. I had the energy drink. I had a can of that before this. That's where I'm getting this energy from right now. Anyhow, so we will go and buy the product, right? Now, washing machine, dirty clothes, soiled clothes. You put them in a machine. Just put it inside. It comes out clean. Now the sales are dropping. How and what? I will tell you. Now let me explain to you logically how that happened. These products, this energy drink and this washing machine, was advertised in the Middle East. The language there is Arabic. So what message came across? An energetic, dancing, running young man full of energy and zest for life, sipping this drink. And the third picture, right to left, becoming dull. A washing machine, good, clean clothes, you put in a machine and they come out dirty. These people could not understand the market. They didn't understand. So if I wrote this open letter to Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terrorist outfit, on 14th February 2019. And that letter, I just put on Facebook at night because I was very perturbed by this entire thing that happened. And I'm a soldier for peace. Let me tell this to you. So as being a soldier for peace, on 14th February night, when this happened, I wrote this letter 14th February night, practically 15th February early morning, 2:30 a.m. and I slept off. Now I'm also visiting faculty at Subhash Guy's Whistling Woods International. So I woke up at 6 a.m., barely slept for like 3-4 hours. Now most of my friends on Facebook, Muhammad Ali Shah, if you see, I have 5,000 friends. And unfortunately, Facebook has a limit. So out of those 5,000, probably more than 4,500 are from India only. So who in India keeps awake from 2:30 to 6 a.m.? Or let's simplify, 3 to 6 a.m., 3 hours. Hardly anyone. When I woke up at 6 a.m., what is the first thing that we all do when we wake up in the morning? Now I am connecting with you all. I know for a fact, all of us, first thing we do is
smartphones.
We check our mobiles. How many notifications, how many WhatsApp messages, how many likes, how many comments, how many shares, right? So like any of you, I too check my mobile the first thing in the morning. And I saw this open letter that I wrote. Had 387 shares on Facebook. Shares. I'm not talking about likes or comments. So I thought something rather very unusual because you'll find people commenting or liking, but people will share it very sparingly. And that too, who's awake at that time? And thousands of likes, thousands of comments. Anyhow, I went for my lecture to Whistling Woods International. I love my students. Some of you might be here. I hope somebody, because many of them are part of IMUN. Anyhow, so by 12 in the afternoon, I switched on a mobile phone and I started receiving, my mobile phone went berserk. I started receiving calls from every single production house, every single television channel, every single media agency, national, regional, international, all over. And the news agencies were the one to inform me that my open letter to Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terrorist outfit, had over 10 million shares on social media by that time.
Wow.
12 in the afternoon, yes. And it was published by every single publishing house. Thank you.
No, that's brilliant, and that is why I'm so sorry, Akshat, I had to cut you off over there, but it's just I remember that sir is actually an IIM graduate, and there's so much that you guys. I just wanted him also to share his opinion because I just felt that this is a point where he could completely back you up. This was something that I feel as students, especially while communicating, because this MUN is all about from being an introvert to becoming an extrovert to an ambivert, and people just keep on talking about bolo. It's the same conversation I try to have with everyone, that it's more about relatability. How do you relate? how can you relate? And I'm so sorry I had to cut you off. And sir, I'll just get back to you. And there's a lot more conversation that we need to have upon a lot more things. Akshita, please continue.
I'm so sorry, Akshita, for have intruded over here, and that's it. Very sorry, yeah.
No, not at all, sir. It was really fun listening to the
But,
story.
but I'll just conclude before I restart again. But I was that boy in my childhood who would stammer, stutter, lisp, who was not able to speak, who was always teased and bullied and pinned down by his peers, flunking in almost every subject, not fond of studies. I was not an introvert. Introvert is a compliment. They would call me a sissy character, basically. I was that boy, constantly living in self-doubt. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Why don't I have any friends? And today, I hold a world record of having been invited to speak on TEDx the maximum number of times in the world, appearing on every single news channel every single day. There's a YouTube channel of mine, Mohammed Ali Shah. Until you speak, you guys may like to go through that, subscribe it, share it, do what you want, like, dislike, comment, whatever. Anyhow, you take care, and I am muting myself. Go ahead. So sorry.
What Major said actually, complements the point I was making some time back about, what really makes your story unique, right? Because all these experiences you have as a child. Now, when you think about them in isolation, you feel like, oh, this is such a, difficult part of my life. And, you don't know how the dots are going to connect. But these are the unique things which make you, right? Because we all go to school, we all have the same subjects, but how the experiences we have and what we make of them, I think, makes all the difference in the long run.
The uniqueness.
Yeah.
The uniqueness.
The uniqueness, yes. Okay, so coming back to, I think we were talking about listening. I think we covered that pretty well with what Major just added. The next point that I would like to talk about is about finding common ground. Often these interactions, there is obviously a formal aspect to it where they will ask you questions, get to know you. But there's also, there's always opportunity for small talk, whether it's at the beginning of the conversation or somewhere in between. It's important to use this opportunity to find common ground with the person who you're interacting with. Now, it can be something as small as which hometown you both are from, or your alma mater, or something more generic like the movies you guys like, or a specific sports person. Now, finding common ground really helps because again, our brain is wired to like a person who has something in common with us. Now, of course, again, the insights you give, the answers you give, your accolades is all gonna help you, in the pitch. But the fact that someone likes you as a person and thinks that, oh, I can have a normal free-flowing conversation, not about work, but just generally with this person, I can hang out with this person, can actually go a long way in someone very subconsciously deciding that if tomorrow it's two of you, who have literally identically the same scores or the same resumes in terms of your background, but if one of them, you have a slightly little more likability or something in common with the decision maker, that is where it's going to be a deal breaker for you. So when you do have the opportunity to have a small talk, try to find common ground with the person you are interacting with. The next thing I would like to talk about is body language. I think this is something you all have probably heard, but it is very important that, whenever you're talking to someone, you sit straight, you don't slouch, you don't fidget, you maintain eye contact, you nod when possible, you use hand gestures in obviously a more organic way, because it is important that the person who's talking to you thinks that you're confident and attentive. Now, of course, there could be times where you're really nervous, but they don't need to know that. So, it's very important that you come across as a confident, attentive person, because that is going to help the other person subconsciously have a very good impression about you. Finally, the point that I would like to talk about is a lot of times during these interactions, right, towards the end of the interaction, when they are done asking you all the questions, they'll ask you if you have any questions about the opportunity they are presenting you with. Now, don't waste this on asking things like, when can I expect to hear back from you? Or no, I don't have any questions. Use this opportunity to ask interesting questions, which will actually leave a better impression about you. So for example, ask them, if it's a workplace, ask them, what do you find the most challenging about this workplace? Not something like, oh, how is this a nice place to work? What do you find challenging? You make the other person also think, and they also think that, oh, this person's actually really serious about joining the organization because they're asking these tricky questions. If it isn't a university, you can ask them that, what would you say about the culture of this place? Because that means that you actually care about a value system you carry. You don't just care about the money, or you don't just care about being there for the work experience, but you actually care about being part of something bigger. And that will also, it will help you understand the company or the university you're applying to better, but it will also make the other person think, hey, this guy or this girl asked really smart questions. So that, I think, helps with leaving a very good final impression before your interview or your interaction with the stakeholder is done. So yeah, I'll just quickly sum up the 6 points that we spoke about today, and I think then we can move on to questions. So the first one being that humans are subconsciously drawn to stories rather than achievements. So take this opportunity that you get to interact with someone to tell a unique story or an anecdote or show an interesting part of your personality, because that is what will make you memorable. Second, do your research about the person or the organization that you're talking to, because when they think you care about them and you empathize with them, they feel like you are bringing something more to the organization rather than taking something away from them. Third is listen to the stakeholder when they drop hints and adapt your pitch accordingly. Don't just be that I am going to talk about these 10 things and just stick to the script no matter what. Fourth is about finding common ground if possible during casual conversation, because if someone subconsciously likes you or finds you relatable, that will influence their decision of hiring you or accepting your idea. Fifth is about body language, that have a confident and attentive body language, because that again influences the decision of the decision maker. And finally, if given the opportunity, ask unique questions to the interviewer, because that's going to leave a good lasting impression as your interview concludes. So yeah, those are my points. I have tried to keep it as crisp and concise as possible. If you have any questions, then
now I'm going to use all those points to ask you questions. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So my first unique question to you is rather of a personal, let's say, flashback.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first ever pitch? What was your first ever pitch, and how did that go?
My first ever pitch, I think, obviously I can't divulge details of projects, but I think my first ever pitch was along with a writer for one of the major platforms. And we really believed in the idea. And I think one of the major things we tried to do is that we rehearsed the pitch a lot with the writer. And this was this one writer who, some writers are very good at the actual writing, and some of them are really good at narrating. They have the theatrics and all. This was one of that sort of a person who really, used to bring a music cues, or he'll get up from his seat and actually enact a scene for you. So, because when someone with such a, large personality is there, you want to compliment them. So even if, say, usually you're a person who just has a calm demeanor, is going to talk very politely, you have to also adapt to who your partner for this pitch is. So, we rehearsed a lot, and it did work well for us. And in fact, that's one of the first shows as a showrunner, since I transitioned to that role, that's supposed to release later this year. And I hope you all like it when it comes out.
I think then I'll be waiting to figure out which show it is. So that being said, there are a lot of misconceptions that are out there about marketing. Let's say, when you pitch out to someone, you're basically using human psychology and you're trying to manipulate them. So what is your take on that? What do you feel about that misconception that's out there? Manipulating the person ahead of you and stuff.
I don't think you necessarily, good marketing doesn't need to manipulate the person. It is about understanding insights about this person and leveraging them to help them make a decision in favor of your product. So again, we do this a lot for our YouTube shows, right? So when, if you've seen our YouTube shows, you know that there are brand integrations that happen in it. So you will see that, say, for example, there is a yogurt brand, which will probably be there in a family show, or there'll be furniture brand which will be there, but there'll be if it's a renting furniture thing, it will be in a young adult store. So it's also important to understand who is this product a right fit for. Now, if it's a show where your target audience is say 25 to 35, 40 years of age, renting furniture is not going to make a lot of sense. But if it's a story about bachelors who are on their first jobs maybe and who are living in a rented apartment, that's going to make a great fit. So you're not manipulating them, you're understanding your audiences, you're understanding your brand's need, and you're trying to see which is a good fit for them. I think that constitutes as good marketing. And if it's a new idea, right? Like say for example, if it's not a product which is if it's a new idea, because with a lot of apps coming in, you have to actually help the viewer understand create a demand, because they didn't know that they needed it. Say like for example, when dating apps came to India, like you didn't know the concept of dating apps. So first you have to make the customer realize that, oh, you need this. This is actually going to make your life easier, and then sell the idea. So again, and again, I think the best marketing is the one where the viewer doesn't even realize you're trying to sell something to them. Like if you're saying that, oh, buy this phone, I think that's not great marketing. If I'm instead just talking to you and this phone is just there over there and you're like, hey, nice phone, that's, I think, a better marketing idea than being very in your face. I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. And I'll take one last question. And this is a personal question coming from a marketing student, because I've heard this question being asked on all the interviews. So I want you to suggest me an alternative question, okay, to this one specific question. Sell me this pen. I want you to come up with an alternative question, because everyone out there, whenever you go out for a marketing interview, they'll always ask you regularly. It's very regular practice that, they'll be like, okay, so you're here for a job? You're here for a marketing and sales job? You want to pitch something to me? Okay, pitch me this pen. Try to sell it to me. And we've seen that, over the time, you've used emotional aspects to, features and so on and so forth things. The most recent thing that I came across was still revolving around that pen, saying that, okay, sell this pen to a blind person. But I think that marketing is yet very old. What do you suggest? What are the current scenarios, looking at the pandemic during this entire online thing? What do you think will help us identify how good a person's pitch can be about a specific product? And it can be anything.
Right. See, I think one thing you pointed out is true, that, the questions do get repetitive after a time. And I think the onus of that is on the industry, that the questions probably haven't adapted to how the demand. But I think one of the good answers you can give, I mean, obviously there are those extreme things where you actually just like, again, manipulate the person into taking it from you. But I think more than the product, often what you sell is the idea of what this product can mean to you, right? So say for example, if it's a high-end luxury pen, it's more about, not so much about, oh, this pen helps me write. It's more about the idea of what carrying this pen means to me, or what does this say about me as a person? If I'm carrying this pen, does it say that, oh, I'm doing very well in life? Does it say that I'm an intelligent person? So it's very important for whatever product or whatever idea it is that they try to make you sell in these interviews. It's important to understand that it's not the product that you're selling, but it's the experience and what it stands for that matters. So it's if you don't want to give a very direct answer or panic, it's important to ask that, what is it that you want me to sell about this pen? It's important to understand, what does this brand stand for? Because it's never going to be about just, this necklace or this hair or this jacket. It's going to be like what. Sometimes it's good to answer a question with a question. So make them think about their question also, that, what is it that what exactly does this pen stand for? Ask more questions about the brief, because often what I've noticed, it's not so much about the answer that the team is looking for, but how you are interpreting the information, or how you are asking for details, because they want to understand how you actually, when something like a curveball is thrown at you, what do you do with it, rather than come up with a panic answer. Dissect the question, ask them more questions about the brand, because that is what, if you think about this in a real world scenario, if I was a brand coming to you to advertise something, I would want you to ask me as many questions about my brand, because this is what I do the whole day, develop this product. And you are more, interested in selling it, but have you understood the product correctly? Because this is not really just about the pen. It's about so many other things based on which you're going to sell it. So ask those questions, because again, asking the right questions makes them realize, okay, this is how this person actually interprets data, which is interesting.
Good. So I think I will definitely pass my interviews. I'm definitely getting a job for sure because I'm passing this. And the first thing I'm going to do is, as soon as I graduate, I'm coming joining Pocket Aces. I hope you're my interviewer.
Definitely. Yeah, I look forward to meeting you there.
Hopefully. And on that note, thanks a lot for sharing so much insight upon, how we can figure out how to rather not pitch, but I would say present ourselves in front of anyone and represent our own ideologies. And I think that is great insight. Thanks a lot, Akshita. I hope all the students have also gained more insight about facts, about marketing, pitching, and presenting themselves. Thanks a lot for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I have really enjoyed interacting with you and Major today. And I hope at least some bit of what I said will help some of you in the long run.
It is helping me. I'm getting a job for sure.
All the best with that.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And moving on, now we finally have Major Muhammad Ali Shah. And sir, for you, I'm so sorry you had to wait. I actually had written a small brief about you, which I really wanted to read out, which is why I gave you a small introduction of yours. I'll just quickly move forward with the formal introduction of you. Major Muhammad Ali Shah is an Indian actor, a former soldier, a member of the board of International Film and Entertainment Festival of Australia, who has won the Best Actor for an English film at the 4th Delhi International Films. And that being said, I am honored to be present with him. He is someone who's not just an actor, an Indian Army soldier, but also has been awarded and titled as the most number of international TEDx speaks till date. It is truly an honor, sir, to have you here with us.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much for having me over here. And of course, Bashne Saab is a younger brother to me. I'll call him Bashne Saab because by his surname, I try to be a bit formal over here. Let's say hi to each one of you personally. And of course, Akshita, your talk was just brilliant, absolutely, just brilliant. I'll try to take names if I can. Anjali, Urvi, Ashi, hi, hello, how are you all? Ishita, Ishika, Drishti, Swara. Actually, Swara has the same surname as me. Hi, Swara. Kritika, Janvi, and whoever has a name by the appointment, I would like to say hello to you all. First, let me tell you all one thing. No, as I told you all, in my childhood, I just couldn't speak at all. There are some children who begin speaking late in life. And even when they learn to speak, they would stammer, stutter, get stuck while speaking. They would not be able to communicate well. Who everybody would make fun of. They would always tease them and bully them. And that person would have a disturbed childhood. Would only be crying. Right? Hi, Drishti. Thank you for your message. So if you guys are with me, you can send messages over there. You can comment over there. I would feel that, yes, I am connected with you all if you are with me. If you're not with me, then you can keep quiet. It's just the way, on a WhatsApp group, and we keep quiet if we don't want, if we play neutral to any post. Anyhow.
No. Do not keep quiet. I'm telling you, I remember my first interaction with sir, and I remember I was the youngest, I feel, in that entire interaction. And sir literally greeted me as a friend, and he told me that, he's absolutely my age, and trust me, guys, he is very, very young at heart, and he always greets you and welcomes you as your friend. So trust me, start interacting.
Thanks a lot, yaar. Isi baat pe chai ho jaye. Anyone, any of you care for a cup of tea? Any of you? बना लो यार घर पे, अपने घर समझो, सोचो अपने घर में बैठे हैं यार. Just think that you are sitting in your own house, yaar. Relax, be comfortable. Thanks, Aryan. I love that. Cheers, Aryan. Cheers. Okay, so I was that boy who just couldn't communicate at all. I was very, very badly introverted. How I evolved later on was a wake-up call. When I went up on stage once for an elocution competition, and there was this beautiful girl. Come closer. Nobody at home should hear this. Come close, all of you. This beautiful girl who I had a crush on in school. Okay. So Maria entered the waiting room. I just entered Maria. Okay. So now, the moment I saw her sitting in the front row and looking at me, I forgot my lines. And when I forgot my lines, I could feel my feet becoming cold, my hands shivering. I did not know what to do. I had a piece of paper in my hands. And if I forget my lines, I will read it out from here. And I was like shivering. And everybody could see that piece of paper shaking in my hands. So all I did was I just said, thank you. And then sat back in my chair. And I could see the entire auditorium looking at me with peering eyes. That night, I cried a lot. I was in a boarding school, away from family. I was only in class 7th at that time. Not even a teenager by then. And I swore to myself that such a mistake will not happen again. So I went to my classroom, took out my English reader, and I read it so many times, and I became very fluent with it. And I still remember this poem by Thomas Hardy. He talks about two soldiers, had they met, not at a border, at a battlefield, but had they met elsewhere, how things would have been different for them there. And they would have been friends then. So Thomas Hardy had written this. Let me try recollecting that poem. It went something like, I don't know if I would be able to recollect it, but in class 7th, way back in 91, when some of you were perhaps not even born, that time I had learned it. So anyway, he says something like, had he and I but met at an old ancient inn, we would have sat us down to wet by many a nipper kin. But ranged as infantry, staring face to face, I shot at him as he at me and killed him in his place. I shot at him because he was my foe. Just so, yes, he was my foe. That's clear enough, although I thought he'd live perhaps, just as I, without a work, has sold his traps. No other reason why. Yes, quaint and curious war is. You shoot a fellow down, you would meet if met where any bar is, or help to half a crowd. Things would have been different, right? The two soldiers. So, let me tell you one more thing, guys. War. It sounds very glamorous. When I was a child, I would play with guns. I had this Leo toy gun. And army, we used to play army. All that looks very good in Hollywood movies. But in real life, it is not. There's nothing glorious about that at all. Mahatma Gandhi had once said, an eye for an eye would make the nation go blind. Karl Marx once said, if you want peace, you must prepare for peace as hard as you would prepare for war. Only then you can attain it. But we do not really work hard for peace. And Leo Tolstoy, in this book, War and Peace, in chapter 5, paragraph 4, line 2, Leo Tolstoy says, being peaceful is better than being right. After the First World War, the League of Nations was formed. And the role and responsibility of Drea entered the waiting room, and I'm the co-host. I just did it. So, hi Drea, welcome. So now League of Nations, their responsibility in the Charter of Duties was to ensure that the Second World War does not take place. But the Second World War did take place, so the League of Nations was dissolved. Thereafter came the UNO, the United Nations organization, whose responsibility is that there should not be a Third World War. And if the Third World War happens, God forbid, if ever, I hope it does not, but it will be fought over water. That also I'll tell you right now. Not over oil, not like Gulf War was fought over oil. Third World War would be fought over water. It's a scarce resource. But if, God forbid, if a Third World War happens, then the UNO also would get dissolved. That should not happen. We should take care, right? So, and Gautam Buddha said, first we have to attain peace from within. only when we attain peace from within can we externally get peace in the world. So now let me tell you a small story. In the year 1999, were you guys, some of you born that time? Shreyansh, were you born that time?
No.
Oh, all right. In the year 1999, which year were you born, Shreyansh?
I was born in 2001.
2001. Okay, the year I graduated from college. All right.
Lovely.
So in the year 1999, the Kargil War took place, right? So I'll tell you the story of this senior of mine who took part in the 1999 war, and he was awarded a Veer Chakra. That's the third highest award for exemplary gallantry in the face of the enemy in the line of fire. He wrote a letter and he went for his final assault towards the enemy. We all would have seen Sher Shah, right? Most of us would have seen. So, same time, Captain Vikram Batra was fighting on the Tiger Hill, the side. Here, I'm talking about Captain Vijayan Thapar was fighting elsewhere. So, what's the time? Because I'm also public speaking coach. So, I have a session at 7 with my class, but I can either push forward the session and I haven't called them or messaged them, or I can tell my students to join this. What do you say? There are only 2 girls.
Works for us, sir. Works for us. Any
I'll
knowledge
send
that
them the
comes
link, I
here.
think. But okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we still have 5 minutes. I'll tell you one thing. So now what happened? So Captain Vijayan Thapar wrote this letter, and this letter, what did he write? He wrote, just try imagining the emotions of the officer, of the brave heart. He wrote, my loving Papa, Mummy, and Granny. By the time this letter reaches you all, I would be observing you all from the skies, enjoying the hospitality of Apsaras. I have no regrets. In fact, if I were to be born again as a human, I would choose to join the army and serve my nation. Whichever organ needs to be taken should be taken and donated. Please donate some money to the orphanage and continue giving rupees 50 to Ruxana every month. I hope the sacrifice of these brave men is remembered and inspires generations to come. The new chaps should be told about the supreme sacrifice. Papa, you must be proud. Mama, so must you. And please go and meet the name is withheld. I loved her. Mama ji, please forgive me for everything wrong that I may have done. I hope a photograph of mine is kept in the Alpha Company Mandir next to Karnui Mata. Anyhow, it's about time I go and join my clan of 30 dozen. My assault party has 12 chaps. Live life king size. Yours, Robin. Jai Hind. Imagine the emotions of a soldier who went for the war. But let me tell you, boys and girls, my dear friends, at the end of a war, a mother waits for her son. A father waits for his son. A sister waits for her brother to tie Rakhi. A brother waits for his brother. A friend waits for his friend. It is the politicians who shake hands. Hear it on the first-hand account from a soldier who has actually been in the line of fire, who has actually led from the front, who has put his life on stake on several occasions, defending our motherland. He will tell you. Here I'm telling you. There's no glory in war. I'm getting a little tensed. Just hold the fort, Tranch. I will just send the link to these.
Yeah, absolutely.
These two. There's these 2 girls, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just hold the fort till then. There's much more, because there's lots to share with you guys, yeah. Such bright minds.
Absolutely. And in fact, it's lovely that you're here to share so many things with us, especially at a time like now, wherein many of us are realizing that how safe are we in our homeland when we keep on talking about let's get settled abroad, let's get settled over here. And there's so many things that we can gain so much insight upon what our nation is all about, what our nation stands for, and how the soldiers every day risk their lives. It is something that I think all youngsters should always learn, because considering we haven't really seen those wars, and as you said, wars aren't glorious. And I just like to add on one point to what you mentioned. Peace also comes at a price. Peace comes at its own price.
Just hold the fort. I'm just forwarding the link. Huh?
Sure.
Apologies, guys. Come on, Shreya, let's hear something from you. My ears are open. I'm just sending the link.
No, I would love to. It's just my knowledge is very restricted, and that is what I gain from you. That every time I learn something new is what I try to share over here. So whatever you teach me, I share here. And till the time, sir, is just returning back. If you guys have any questions about our country's soldiers, our brave men, you can address it to sir. Sir has so many stories that he can share. Sir has so much insight upon the current situation. You can talk to him about the current situation regarding Taliban. Sir has been a extremely insightful person on such matters to multiple news channels, and he's acting as a defense expert. I think I just saw him today on News X early in the morning. So if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to drop them on the chat box over here, and let's see if sir can take them up. So feel free, you can shoot all your questions on the chat box. I would recommend you guys not to direct the questions to me, because of course I will not be able to ask each and every question. But
okay, done. Yeah, I have sent the message now. Now I can speak to you at peace, right? And then my thing was, so earlier my mind was thinking that 7 o'clock I have to end the session. Now I am so much at peace. So here we have, I think I have just seen Ria entering, and we have Ria and Lavanya, two of my guests. Hi Ria, how are you, beta? All right. And that's Ria, one of my most diligent participants of my academy. I had a session with them at 7. That's why I invited. Anyhow, so now I'll quickly tell you this, okay? So, Shreyansh, how old are you?
I'm 20.
Perfect. So there's this poem I'll recite for you and for everyone else. So we have roughly almost all of us are about 20 in this.
Right? More or less around that age. It's like from 15 to above, 15 and above in this meeting, and multiple others are watching you on YouTube right now, live. That all is right, from 12 to 18.
Superb. So since 15 and above, so I'll tell you. That's Ananda, and so that my two special guests who I was eagerly waiting for, Ria Mrinalini and Lavanya Joshi, they are here. And I'm so happy. So now I'm relaxed. Earlier I had a deadline to meet, so I was like stressing. Oh God, I have to finish it by 7. We have all the time. Listen now. This poem is for you all, for youngsters like you. We both left home at 18. We both left home at 18. You cleared the prestigious JEE. I cleared an entrance test of UPSC. You got through IIT. I got through NDA. You pursued your degree. I pursued my passion and underwent the most rigorous and the toughest training. Your day started at 9 and ended at 5. Mine started at 5 and went on beyond 9 at night, which meant I had to stay up many a nights. You had your grand convocation ceremony with style. I had my passing out parade with pride. Best company took you and the best package was awarded. I was pipped with 2 stars on my shoulders, which I perceive is worth more than $1 million in the sky. You got a plum job. I got a way of life. You swore to yourself that you will make lots and lots of money. I took the oath which said, the safety, honor, welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. The honor, welfare, and comfort of the men you command comes next. Your own needs, comfort, and safety comes last, always and every time. You got to see your family every day. I just wished I got to see my parents soon. You celebrated festivals with lights, music, and played with firecrackers. I celebrated festivals in bunkers with my comrades and my brothers in arms, with real fireworks, firearms, and played with my life. We both got married. You got to see your wife every day. My wife just wished I was alive. We were sent on our both respective duties. You were sent on luxurious business trips. I was sent on the rugged line of control. We both returned. Both wives couldn't control the tears. And you wiped hers, but I couldn't. You hugged her, but I couldn't. Because my bullet-ridden body was lying in the coffin with medals on my chest, and the coffin was wrapped with the tricolor. My way of life ended. Yours continued. We both left home at 18. I became a martyr and became immortal. Because martyrs never die, they become legends and live in our hearts and minds forever. How can a man die better than facing fearful odds? Serving the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his gods. Where else, at the raw age of 21, you could be commanding over 100 men who live and die by your word? Remind me of these golden letters I read at the Kohima World War Cemetery when I was posted in Nagaland. You know, this Kohima World War Cemetery is there.
Correct.
On the tombstone, it is written over there, when you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. So, but ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my dear friends, there's no glory in war. As I told you, there's this very famous photograph, cartoon, where this boy is hiding under a chair, under a table rather. And his mother's calling him out, Beta, the army has come to recruit you. After seeing your bravery on Facebook. You know, a war hero returns home after winning a battle. And yeah, Aryan, you have raised your hand, Beta. Anything you want to ask? Yeah. Okay, I think the host will have to unmute Aryan. Let me see.
Yeah, I'll do that. So I'll just, because I'll have to add him to spotlight as well.
So, sir, firstly, I want to salute you with all my might. From my bottom of my heart, I want to salute you, sir. The work you did I don't get this, sir. I mean, how you focus on things. Firstly, you work in the studio, then you work in the borders. How do you do these things, sir? How do you differentiate your time? How do you focus on things?
Aryan, thank you very much for your respect. Aryan, as soldiers, we don't live for ourselves, we live for the nation. And we are trained for that. It is a way of life for us. We are expected to do that. So when we put a life at stake, we are not doing anything extraordinary. It is expected from us. We all saw Wing Commander Abhinandan in February 2019 when he was taken in custody with the Pakistan Army. He said, I respect the Pakistan Army. That's what he said. I feel that they are an army of professional soldiers. That is exactly what he said. But again, when they asked him some questions, he said, I am not supposed to tell you that. Despite being gruesomely beaten up and being tortured and going through what he went through. Those are the ethos of the Indian Defence Forces. That is a role model for us. Right? I'll tell you a small story then, We have time? I have time because I have my bachas here, Lavanya's here and Riya's here. Though I will speak to the two of you, both you girls after this. That's a different thing. But I would like to tell you guys a story. So this war hero, he returns home after winning this battle. So at the airport, he received by the media, the shutterbugs, and everyone's clicking photographs. Sir, just a minute, sir, one photograph, click. Sir, now that you have donned the enemy, sir, how do you feel, sir? So the war hero says, I have just buried my best friend and I have come. So please leave me alone. Imagine. Now listen to this story. I'm going to be creating a scene before you. Try visualizing it, try using your imagination with it, and try getting the feel of it. All right. Though, of course, Riya and Lavanya have heard of it earlier. My favorites. Hello, girls. How are you? I know you're mute, but anyhow, so on 28th June 1999, post midnight, a senior of mine from the army by the name of Captain Kangrooze was deployed at the line of control in Kargil. Now, when we say Kargil, there are different districts, like they are different sectors. Like there is Tololing, there's Tiger Hill, there's Dras, there's Mashko Valley, there's Kargil. But that general area we call as Kargil. So there was a pact where in the peak winters, both the armies would vacate the posts at the border because it's too cold to man those posts. But there was a pact, it's an agreement. And then, but nobody will try to occupy those posts. That time, Pakistan General Parvez Musharraf, very smartly, who was hungry for power, decided that he will occupy the post where the Indian soldiers had left behind. Without taking his government into confidence, without telling the Air Force or the Navy, without having the coordination, the Pakistan Army decided to come over and take over our posts. They took over the posts. When we, Indian Army, got intelligence, got the reports that the neighboring country has taken over so and so posts, we launched various operations upon them. One such operation is the story that I'm going to tell you of Captain Kangrooze's operation. Imagine 18,000 feet above mean sea level with a temperature of minus 20 degrees centigrade. Khoon jama dene wali thand. It was so cold that your blood would actually freeze like ice. That cold. So 18,000 feet above mean sea level, minus 20 degrees centigrade, lack of oxygen. The enemy was there on this hill, of course. But the greater enemy was the terrain. the weather, the climate, the conditions, the lack of oxygen, the lack of supplies. Though our supplies did a good job in trying their best to get whatever our soldiers wanted, but yet you can imagine the challenges faced over there. And our soldiers were like sitting ducks below. So whoever is on the peak, on the hill, has an advantage. So it was post-midnight, post-12 a.m., when Captain Kangarooze, the brave son of the soil from Nagaland, hailed from the northeast, he received orders that a post of ours was captured by the enemy, which was creating havoc for the Indian Army and which was overlooking a highway. And that highway was a lifeline for all supplies to reach the transportation to go through. And they were firing upon us. So they had to go and utilize that post. It was so cold. So, but totally unmindful of his own personal safety, Captain Kangarooze started the climb along with his platoon of 10 brave men towards the post, which actually was ours, but was being manned by the enemy currently. So Captain Kangarooze started the climb. Steep vertical climb. It wasn't like this. It was like this literally. With the help of mountain equipment at night. Now what happens at night? Sound travels faster. So the enemy got wind of the fact that they could hear some movement happening from a point down below. So the enemy looked from with the night vision binoculars and they could see the movement of our 10 brave hearts who were climbing up. So the enemy obviously got alert. Now there's something in the army with a weapon known as a killing range and something known as an effective range. Now what is a killing range? Killing range is supposing my weapon has a capability of firing 700 meters. That does not mean I will open fire at the enemy at 700 meters range, which means I will wait for the enemy to close in closer, closer, closer. And when the enemy is, say, about 200 meters away from me, I will hide and I will open fire so that I can have maximum damage, maximum casualty on the enemy. If I fire upon the enemy when they are 800 meters away, what will happen? The bullet will not even reach them, right? If I fire upon the enemy when they're 700 meters away, the bullet will come, the inertia, touch them, and it will just fall off. So they will not, the effect will not be that lethal. What if I fire when the enemy is 600 meters away or 500 meters away? The effect of the bullet may not be that powerful, right? Common sense? With me? Okay, keep sending comments. I would know that you guys are here with me.
No, absolutely. We're just trying to picture the entire scene in front of our eyes.
Super, bro, super. So now the enemy waited for our brave hearts to climb up the hill. And as they were climbing up, when they were just 200 meters from the peak of the hill where the enemy was manning the bunker, the enemy opened fire indiscriminately in all directions from where our brave hearts were climbing. Everywhere there were bullets being sprayed. Everywhere. There was no scope of survival for any of our soldiers, but our brave hearts kept going strong. They kept going up. And we are taught in the army, the moment you're fired upon by the enemy, first protect yourself. Take shelter. Only if you can cover yourself, and then only then, if you survive, can you fire back. But Captain Kangarooze, the brave platoon commander, who was leading from the front, who was totally unmindful of his own personal safety, went beyond the call of duty, and he yelled to his men, "Hum pe hamla ho gaya hai! Ab fikr mat karo, aate raho! Follow me!" And they kept climbing up. They kept climbing up. They kept climbing up, and he was trying to give protection to his men at the same time. But he took a pledge. मैं वचन देता हूं, आप में से किसी एक को भी खरोच नहीं आएगी. बस आते रहो, भारत माता की जय! And they kept climbing up. And as Captain Kangarooze was climbing up, he got shot in his abdomen. 3 bullets came with high velocity and pierced his stomach, his abdomen. Captain Kangarooze immediately took out his belt, fastened it even tighter. Why? So that the blood which was oozing out
slows down.
It won't be that difficult. It won't be that easy for the blood to ooze out, right? So cold. Hands were frozen, whole body was frozen, but yet they were breathing it out. And with 3 bullets, he kept climbing up, he kept continuing passing orders, kept motivating his troops, and every single soldier was carrying at least 35 kilograms of battle load. Now, what is a battle load? Battle load is arms, ammunition, fireworks, grenades, bullets, weapons, tentage. They had an option of carrying ration, food, water, or bullets. They chose to carry ammunition, bullets, because they said we will survive if we have bullets. And when we capture, they were very optimistic. They were thinking in a very optimistic manner that, okay, when we capture the enemy post, enemy definitely would have established a kitchen somewhere. They would have food somewhere. So we will survive and we will win the post. Just like you saw Subedar Neeraj Chopra, his javelin throw. He could see it happen. If any of you observed his throw on television, he threw it, he turned and he said, yes.
Yeah.
That
He
was
knew he
the
won.
confidence. Yes, that was the confidence of a soldier. If you can see it happen, it will happen. So our soldiers had seen it happen, that they will win this post. And as they were climbing up, and Captain Kanguze, when he was shot, he continued motivating his men. Sometimes he would lift double load because someone was slipping. So he would push him up, and he would take his battle load and he was climbing. And he had given his weapon to his buddy to carry. He only had a commando knife with him, and he had a rocket launcher, which is a very heavy equipment. You need 2 people to handle it actually. One person loads it, other person fires. So 2 people actually have to handle it, so heavy. But Captain Kanguze handled it single-handedly, and he came on top of the post. And as he was about to reach on top, his boot was slipping in the slope. He would again go back, again he would climb, again he would slip. So now in that snowfall, he removed his boots and he threw his boots down. When he threw his boots down, he climbed up in the snow barefooted. There was a danger of getting frostbites. There was a danger of getting his legs amputated, but he could not care. He could only see one thing: to attain his objective. Now, as he reached the top of the post, he came face to face with the enemy soldiers. There was just 1 meter difference and distance. 1 meter between Captain Kanguze and the enemy soldier. Captain Kanguze and the enemy soldier. Captain Kanguze and the enemy soldier. Enemy soldier was about to fire at Captain Kanguze. He used his quick presence of mind and quick reflexes, and he swung open his commando knife and he swung it around. And the 3 enemy soldiers fell on the ground. And the moment he saw the other soldiers towards the bunker, he shouted out, he yelled out. He was the first person from our Indian Army platoon to have climbed up. He immediately shouted, "Aaj mauka hai! एक भी दुश्मन बच के नहीं जाना चाहिए! Fire karo!" There was gunfire being spread all over, boys and girls. Captain Kanguze crawled and went towards the bunker while our soldiers gave him cover fire. "Mero cover fire do, main bunker ke paas ja raha hu." And he went and crawled towards the bunker. Our soldiers were firing over his head, which meant if he moves up slightly more, he might get shot by own fire. In the dark, one couldn't see also. But as he reached the enemy bunker very close by, he took out the rocket launcher from his neck, took aim at the post and fired. Third! There's Anjali in the video, Anjali More. And then he took aim at the other bunker and third! And he blew both the bunkers up. Just as he blew the bunkers up, the enemy got scared. They started running away from there. That the Indian Army is in the elements. They will not spare us today. So tactfully, when the enemy was running away, they would fire backwards with a weapon. Because they can't run like this. So they're firing backwards. And just then, a burst of enemy fire bullets. Burst. There's a single shot for that, tack, and you can change the lever. It's burst. So burst fire came and hit Captain Kanguze right on his chest, who fell from the cliff that he had climbed with great difficulty.
And he was already 3 bullets shot prior.
Exactly. 3 bullets in his abdomen, a burst fire on his chest, and he's falling from his cliff. And it's human reaction. When we fall from a great height, we would shout, "Ah!" and we would fall down. So our brave men who had climbed up with great difficulty went down. In the army, we live together, we die together, we do everything together. They went down to see in what condition their brave platoon commander, the brave heart, would be. They could not find his body. They hunted, they looked around in the darkness, they couldn't find him. They were ravine over there, ravine, khai jo hoti hai, pahadi ke. So they went inside that khai and they found, in the darkness, they found their brave platoon commander lying in a pool of blood. He had fallen from a great height. So obviously his spinal cord had broken, his legs had twisted, his arms had twisted, his neck had broken, and he was just lying there. But he had not died. The only thing the men could think at that time was, "Sar hamara rahe na rahe, tera matha chamakta rahe." The men were carrying the national flag with in the rucksacks, which we in the army we term it as a pittu jhola. So the men took out the national flag, wrapped the body of the brave platoon commander in the rucksack, in the national flag, which was out of the rucksack, of course, and they carried his body right on top of the cliff. Very difficult to climb up, as it is. Now they were carrying the load of not just a weight, but they were carrying the load and the weight of bearing the brunt of carrying the body of their brave platoon commander, who was still alive, mind you. And also, why didn't he die? I'll tell that also. He had not died because he had become a martyr, and martyrs never die. They become legends and live in our hearts and minds forever. As they reached on top of the cliff, this time with uncertainty that the enemy could have come back. Probably they would have sent a reinforcement back on that to man that post. But as the men climbed up, they planted the national flag over there. They put the body of the brave platoon commander next to the national flag. They all stood there, saluted the national flag, and our brave, robust soldiers, our tough soldiers, our brave hearts cried. They cried, they wept, they howled like small little newborn babies. They wailed. They cried, they became unwell crying. Not because they had won a post or they had won a battle or a cliff. No. They cried because they had lost their brave platoon commander, who was not with them anymore, who they very affectionately and lovingly called him as Nimbo Sahab. Nimbo because he hailed from Northeast. So Kang Ruze is a very long name. So Nimbo Sahab. And while they all cried, saluted at the body and the national flag, they all wept and they all shouted in unison. It sometimes happens. If you are thinking something and I'm thinking the same thing in my mind, we might end up saying the same thing together at the same time. They call it jinx. They call it, oh, you said the same thing. I was saying the same thing, right? And the men cried and they said, "Ye jeet aapki hai, Nimbo Sahab. Ye hill aapka hai. आज से ये हिल Nimbo Hill कहलाएगा." And that is the story of Nimbo Hill. If ever any of you go to Kargil to see where the Indian Army fought for your tomorrow, where they fought bravely, unmindful of their own personal safety, put their lives at stake, sacrifice their lives for your tomorrow, you will find a very prominent feature in Kargil known as Nemo Hill. Now, that is the story of Nemo Hill. But the story does not end over here. When Captain Kangaroo's body was brought back, thanks Arvind, from Kargil to Nagaland, Dimapur. The airport in Nagaland is in Dimapur. His village is near Kohima. That's about 2 hours from Dimapur. 3 decades. And Nagaland has got a very diverse society. They're very divided, subdivided. Like they're different tribes. Like in Nagaland, there are different tribes like Ao, Angami, Chang, Chakizang, Sema, Lotha, Mao. They're different tribes. And each tribe has a sub-tribe. And each sub-tribe has a different dialect. Which means if I'm a Naga, it's not necessarily I speak Nagamese. I can be an Ao Angami. Now if I'm Ao, now what Ao am I? Am I a Chungli or am I a Changli? Now if a Chungli speaks in his dialect, a Changli who is also an Ao incidentally will not be able to understand what Chungli spoke. It's that subdivided. But 3 decades, 30 years of division, of insurgency in Nagaland was forgotten on one single day. When Captain Kangaroo's body was brought back from Kargil to Nagaland, and the whole Nagaland united by holding hands. Right from Dimapur airport to Captain Kangaroo's house near Kohima. They all joined their hands as his body was being taken up in the ambulance and they were showering flower petals on him. They joined hands after washing their hands, of course. And they all said, Captain Kangaroo, Amar Rahe, Amar Rahe, Captain Kangaroo, Amar Rahe, Amar Rahe, Captain Kangaroo, Amar Rahe, Amar Rahe. And that's how Captain Kangaroo was greeted and honored. And where he was buried, very close by, is this Kohima World War Cemetery, which I told you about sometime back, where it's written over there, not here risen. And when you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, art. So now, but imagine now, Captain Kangaroo was awarded with the Mahavir Chakra, the 3rd highest award. Hi Harsha, how are you? Welcome. Harsha, don't worry, I don't have any weapons with me. Hands up. All right. So now Captain Kangaroo was awarded with the Mahavir Chakra. That's the 2nd highest award for gallantry in the face of the enemy, for displaying courage under fire. And the beauty of it is, none of Captain Kangaroo's men in his platoon, there was not a single casualty. And that morning when they reached up, boys and girls, without food, they found the enemy's kitchen close by. There was honey, and then there were some other things to eat. They made food, and they cooked food. Because before that, they had made tea for everyone, but the tea was made in a helmet because there were no utensils. But this time they had found the enemy kitchen. So now they made tea in a vessel, which was a big luxury. Small joys of life that gives a lot of happiness. Many times we tend to take things for granted. But ask somebody who has gone through the rigorous training, who knows, who will tell you.
True meaning of luxury.
Exactly. Ria is a national level tennis player. And her coach is very hard on her. She's going to be winning the Wimbledon very soon. And of course, Lavanya is here. She's going to be the superstar in movies very soon. We'll be seeing her in a lot of movies. That's a different thing. So now, normally for Ria and Lavanya's class, especially the special class I take, I get a guest once in a while to interact with them. Here I've got them here for you guys. Anyway, that's a different thing. So now, when that is the spirit of the soldier. But let me tell you once again, there is no glory in war, and the modern warfare is not which was fought over 20 years back in Kargil. Now you win a war without fighting. Now, as you rightly mentioned, if you want to know about Taliban, I can tell you about that. See, let me tell you a bit brief, whatever little bit I know. 28th December 1979. You can call it practically 24th December. 24th December to 28th, which was roughly about that time. So let's say it's called 24th December 1979 to 8th February 1989. Almost 9 years, 2 months, right? The Anglo-Afghan War was fought. That's the Afghan-Russian War. And at that time, US, which was anti-Soviet, that time Soviet Union, USSR, United Soviet, it was Russia, which you know today, was of different countries at that time. All right, so they were united at that time. USSR, exactly. So America, which was fighting the USSR, got a force trained in Afghanistan, the Mujahideen, known as the Holy Warrior at that time, to be used for the advantage of the US to fight against the Soviets. Now that was Al-Qaeda in a way. Taliban was born from Afghanistan, from Kandahar soil, which is the birthplace of Afghanistan. Now, when this happened, 1989, right? In 2001, what happened? 11 September 2001. Some of you were born by that time, I guess, or no? Okay. So 11 September 2001, Osama bin Laden, who was heading Al-Qaeda, turned around and attacked the Twin Towers in USA, the Pentagon in USA, by putting suicide bombers as hijackers in aircraft, and those aircrafts came and crashed into the Twin Towers, Pentagon, and the bombing happened. Now this was, the US was badly affected by it. It was the second largest attack on America anyone who could have ever dared to have done. After the Pearl Harbor attack, which the Japanese had done in the Second World War, which happened in 1940, that's a different thing. So now when this happened, the US could not take it. So US sent its troops into Iraq, into Libya, into Afghanistan. In Iraq, they couldn't get anything. They hung Saddam Hussein, that's a different thing, who didn't have any links with Al-Qaeda or with Osama bin Laden or with Taliban or with, that's a different story altogether. They executed General Gaddafi in Libya. They went on a hunt in Afghanistan. They could not find Osama bin Laden over there. Ultimately, Osama bin Laden was found from Pakistan, where they killed him. Now they launched a war against terror. That's the time the entire Taliban in Afghanistan by then was getting dissolved. Taliban was formed in the year 1994 by Maulana Muhammad Omar and Maulana Abdul Ghani brother. Now Abdul Ghani, brother means, you can make up with a name, it means brother. The name was given to him by Maulana Muhammad Omar, who very affectionately were childhood friends. So he called him brother out of his love and affection for him at that time. Now these two had fought against the Soviets shoulder to shoulder, and they had formed Taliban from Kandahar, of course. So when now in 1996, Taliban actually came into full power in Afghanistan, they had overthrown the government. In fact, 27 September 1997, the Taliban hung the president of Afghanistan, Dr. Mohammad Najibullah, who was taking shelter in a UN office. They dragged him out from there and they hung him on a lamppost in the most barbaric, ruthless, cruel, ridiculous manner, publicly. That execution, Afghanistan has not forgotten till today. They would attack the women, children, they would not allow women to work, they would impose their laws, which they call as a Sharia law, but Sharia law is different than their Sharia law. It is, and you have to understand one thing, that Afghanistan actually has got a tribal culture, a very, I don't mean to demean anybody, but what I mean is they are not very advanced, little primitive.
Slightly conservative.
Not slightly, very radical rather, I would say. And they are much behind everybody else. A country which was producing the best of automobiles, not very long ago, 40 years back, that's not very too long actually, WAE of course, but not very long actually, is today not capable of even producing a pin. Have you ever thought of that? How ridiculous is that? Okay, I want to ask you all, how many of you have ever worn a fancy t-shirt or pair of Keds or shoes where it's written made in Afghanistan?
Quite honestly, never.
You would have worn made in London, made in America, made in USA, made in China also. Up to we have boycotted China, that's a different thing. But you would have found made in Japan also, electronic goods, fine.
Absolutely.
Made in Afghanistan, maybe one thing, one product from them, no. A country which was producing very good automobiles at one point of time. Ananya entered the meeting room. I have been entering this. Okay, now what happened? US launched an attack on terror. War against terror. Finally, they found Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. They killed him. Fine. And they gave him a burial in the sea, which means if they would have buried him on ground, people would have, some of them in Pakistan, where he was taking shelter, would have revered him perhaps. They would have formed a grave over there. They would have, they would have made a shrine perhaps, because that country over there. I mean, I don't mean to demean anyone, but it's a fact, reality. So they gave him a sea burial. Now, Maulana Abdul Ghani brother was banished from Afghanistan. He was in exile, you can call it. He was away from Afghanistan for about 20 years. He went to Qatar, to Doha, took shelter there, went to Pakistan, went to the Middle East, traveled, but he could not come to Afghanistan. Why? Because the US troops were there. They were in power. Now, 1996 to 2001, Taliban was ruling Afghanistan. 2001, when the US entered, US troops entered, Taliban was dissolved. Now, they had sent off the Al-Qaeda to the Tora Bora ranges, the mountains, where they disappeared after that. Taliban was completely dissolved. But it was still existing, but it was not existent, you can call it. In the year 2013, Maulana Muhammad Omar, the founder of Taliban, he died. And when he died, that time, Maulana Akhtar Mansoor, who was the leader of Taliban after him, was being accused, was being blamed that he has probably killed Maulana Muhammad Omar because he was his deputy and his rival at the same time. And he was aiming to become the head of Taliban, so he has killed him. So at that time, Maulana Muhammad Omar's son, Maulana Yaqub, who was 91 born, so he's 31 years old right now, he came forward and he said, no, his father had died out of a natural death. No one had killed him. Anyhow, so Maulana Akhtar Mansoor became the head of Taliban, became the supreme commander. His deputy was Maulana Hibatullah Askunzada. Hibatullah actually means the gift of God. So Hibatullah took over as, anyway, Hibatullah was deputy right now. And Hibatullah Askunzada's son, he is a radical. He is a military commander, less of a military commander, more of a religious head. What they perceive as religion as, it's a wrong notion of the religion, but they perceive religion as killing people or, and atrocities on women. They are basically, I would call them cowards. On record, I've said that on television channels as well. Why I would call them cowards? They can only attack women and children, an unarmed personnel. They would plant a bomb somewhere. Like in Diwali, we put a bomb somewhere. No, we run away. That the bomb should not. They'll put a bomb somewhere, hide, and they'll run away and they'll watch it explode and they'll feel very happy that they've achieved something big in life. They don't have the guts and the strength to face an armed army. Because the moment the US troops came in, they were in oblivion. So Maulana Askunzada's, Hibatullah Askunzada's son, was a suicide bomber. In 2017, he was killed in a suicide bomb on an Afghanistan security picket. Now, Afghanistan government, like in India, we have our Indian government and we have Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, we have terrorist outfits fighting in Jammu Kashmir. We had them earlier, they were very active earlier in the 90s. So the army was fighting against them. Similarly, the Afghan army Afghanistan government is actually friends with India. They've always been friends. Hamid Karzai, who was the president of Afghanistan, was a very dear friend of India as well. And we actually felt for Afghan people, but not terrorism over there. Taliban was creating an atmosphere of terror in Afghanistan. They were anti-government. So now in 2017, when Maulana Askunzada's son was killed in a suicide attack, when he tried to attack an Afghan security picket, Maulana Askunzada, there was an airstrike and there was a bombing in a mosque where Maulana Hibatullah Askunzada, who is right now the commander, the top commander of Taliban, that time he was the deputy. His family, many of his family members, his brother, his father, and they were all killed in the bomb blast in a mosque in Afghanistan. He's quiet. The deputy of Taliban till then. Now, in 2018, when Maulana Akhtar Mansoor was killed in an airstrike, like today, we got news in the morning, no, that US has done an airstrike, a drone strike on one of the heads of Taliban, of ISIS.
Correct.
Who was the mastermind of the Kabul airport blast, the twin blast. Similarly, the US did a drone strike and they killed Maulana Akhtar Mansoor, who was the head of Taliban at that time. So obviously, by default, the deputy Maulana Hibatullah Askunzada took over as the chief of Taliban. So Maulana Askunzada was the chief, and Maulana brother, who was operating from outside Afghanistan, became the deputy. He was the founder of Taliban, in fact. Co-founder along with Maulana Muhammad Omar, who had died in 2013. Now, this game continued until recently. We also, okay, one more thing I have to tell you. In the year 1919, 8th August 1919, a pact was signed between the Afghans and the Britishers, where the Durand line, that like in India, we have the McMahon line, India and China, we have the line of control of India and Pakistan. Similarly, the Durand line, which divides Afghanistan from Pakistan, that was decided. And Afghanistan was to gain its independence. At that time, Akhand Bharat, the whole thing was basically
Akhand Bharat, yeah.
Akhand Bharat. So now it was being fragmented. So Afghanistan got its territory. So 19th August 1919, exact date when the pact which was signed actually came into existence, and Afghanistan gained its independence. Now Afghanistan was independent, all right. Now what happens? 15th August, we all saw that not a single, we were celebrating our Independence Day over here, not a single round of bullet. Afghan army have been trained by the US Army and by, I see people leaving. Am I boring you guys?
No. So it's just that they've been actually debating from the morning. So it's still past their, I time, like for digital I time. So that is why.
Sure. It's a long story. Long story short. So now that's thank Rushil. That's very, very sweet of you. And yeah, so should I continue or?
We can wrap it up over here, and then maybe some other day we can continue the entire thing. If you can give us a little insight, there's actually a question that is there. Because there was a lot of statements that were going on regarding, Taliban attacking India, trying to attack India. What do you think India's response would be?
See, I will tell you one thing. These people don't have the courage, actually. They can fight against an unarmed person, against a lady, and force people to follow their diktat, but they really don't have the courage. I'll give you an example. Today, where are you sitting? Are you in Delhi? You're in Bombay? Where are you?
I'm in Bombay.
You're in Bombay. So you are, when you are most comfortable in Bombay?
Yeah,
it's your hometown. You know the areas in and out, right? I'm right now in Delhi. I know I rule over here, right? So in your own house, everybody's a king. Taliban is a king right now. I can only feel brave and protected in Afghanistan. If they come here, they'll be shot down. They won't have the courage to do anything to us. But if at all, that thing ever happens, the Indian Army, sleep in peace. Indian Army is there to protect you all.
Salute to the Indian Army, and I'm really honored to have you here, and you shared so much insight on so many topics, and it's so lovely that we got to learn about so many of our brave warriors. So much information, so much insight. Thanks a lot for all the information. I'm so sorry we had this time constraint today, but we'll definitely try to do this offline without any constraint, wherein we can actually have this live and we can interact and ask you so many more questions about the actual warriors of our country. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for sharing all this insight.
Thank you very much. And Riya and Lavanya, I send you a link. We can log into our link. Huh? Already? Great.
All right.
All right, Shreyansh, wonderful. There's much more I could have gone on with explaining it to you.
I know.
In case you guys want to hear more, then subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's there on YouTube. By my name, Mohammad Ali Shah. I'm putting the link over here as well. You can watch it and that you can subscribe, share it, comment, put a thumbs up if you want. There are many more talks. There are many more talks. Scenes from my movies like Bajrangi Bhaijaan, Haider, the Tashkent Files, film which won a national award. They're there. The scenes from there are there. You can see it, my TV panel discussion. So there's a lot. Thanks.
Actually, I kind of envy Riya and Lavanya. They're getting to learn all of this every day. I am wondering, where do I sign up for these classes? Where do I sign up?
You're most welcome. All of you are most welcome. Yeah, right. I have a huge batch running in the afternoon. Huge batch where they are close to 500 participants who come in one go. But that's a different thing altogether. I would rather spend time with you guys one-on-one personally so that I can give attention to you all. But we'll discuss about it if you have your friends interested. You can
absolutely
sign up for it.
Now that you're an advisor to us, why don't we, someday we'll keep it with the entire team. We'll figure out what day and we'll keep it in the time whenever you're free. And on that note, sir, thanks a lot for joining us today, for sharing so many brave stories of the Indian Army and the real soldiers. And I think Lavanya is just joining back in. Okay.
Yes.
So, thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for joining in. Had a wonderful time with you.
Same here. Take care, guys. I hope you guys have subscribed to my YouTube channel, but that's most important. Yeah, you have? Confirm it in the chat box. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rang. Thank you, Rishti. Thank you, Rushil. Thank you, Namira. Thank you. Take care, guys. God bless you all, Jai Hind. And I'm sorry if I bored you for too long. Huh?
No, not at all, sir.
Coming from a boy who couldn't speak at all now, you owe short the time. My goodness. So, take care.
Thanks.
God bless.
All right, guys. That was Major Mohammad Ali Shah. And that was our today's session on Evolution Next. M1 Corona 10.0. Until next time, thank you. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.